Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Putting the Story in History. This episode is going to be a little bit more relevant to the common day than some of our other ones have. And the reason being is because of the coronavirus vaccine that has started to be distributed around the world. Um, if, like me, you've been reading articles and trying to learn as much as you can about the vaccine, as well as how it's being rolled out and where it's going, um, you may have seen articles about how scientists and doctors and a lot of people are worried that African Americans won't be taking the vaccine for numerous reasons. And that got me thinking, well, why? Why is that? Um, and so I did some research, and this episode is going to be about kind of the reasons um, that experts are worried about the rollout of the vaccine in the Black community in the United States. So to get started, the main reason I found in my research is due to the Tuskegee experiments in the 30s and onward. Now, some of you may have heard of the Tuskegee experiments, but basically what they are was this study run by what at the time was the CDC, but it wasn't called the CDC at that point. Um, and basically they were trying to study the widespread um, uh, spread of syphilis in the African American community in the South. Um, and all of this was done because of some underlying thoughts of what made African Americans different than white Americans at the time. And if you know anything about that time period, you would know that it was due to this thing called scientific racism. So basically, in America, to justify the way that white people have treated black people, scientists and bigots created this kind of pseudoscience of race science, I guess. It's basically saying that blacks were, um, or black people were different than white people for numerous reasons. They would like measure their skulls and say that their skulls were different or that their brains couldn't be as large. They would do all sorts of different things like that. And some of the conclusions that they would draw from this fake science were that blacks were inherently immoral. They were prone to like sexual violence, all this other stuff. So basically, really nasty rumors backed up by this fake science that they were creating. And so the Tuskegee experiments were done because they were saying, well, because of all these things, black people are obviously prone to having STIs. And so we're going to kind of trace how that proliferates through the community, was basically the gist of the study. And that's obviously very wrong. The scientific reasoning, well, it's not even scientific. The bigoted reasoning that they were using to create this study was just not okay in the first place, and then going on from there, not great. So during the experiment, people were actively ensured that they were going to be treated for syphilis. So they were saying, yeah, we're going to treat you for this disease. We're going to make sure that you're okay. That's what this whole experiment is about, making sure that we take care of you. But actually, the people running the experiment were making sure that people were not being treated for syphilis. Basically, the whole point was that these doctors were ensuring that these people were not treated for a disease that at this point was incredibly curable. By the 30s and later, penicillin had been proven to treat syphilis. And so these doctors were making sure that these people in this study were not receiving the actual treatment for syphilis, and they just wanted them to continue to have it. So no one was treated for syphilis, and they were making sure that people didn't get treated. And as this experiment went on for a long time, all the way until 1972. So for 40 years, these doctors were actively ensuring that these people weren't getting medical treatment. And this was being run by the United States government. The CDC was running this experiment. The only reason that it did end was because a leaker leaked the information to the New York Times, and it was a front page story. And by the end of the experiment, 128 people had died of syphilis. 40 of the wives of these men who had been in the study also had contracted syphilis, and 19 children had it. Now, this is an awful, awful thing to have happen. Medical experiments are not supposed to have the outcome of people continuously being sick or not being cured of a disease. Um, but this was a specifically targeted program on African American men in America by the government. So the government was funding this program. Um, and so once this story was published, um, the black community in the United States, which already didn't trust the government a whole lot, trusted them even less, and now distrusted the medical community that was supposed to be keeping them safe. Now they thought, oh, well, they were probably just trying to mess with us, and that's not great. So now, since then, since the 1970s, black individuals participate in medical research way less than their white, Asian, whatever other group do, because of their general mistrust with doctors in the medical process because of this experiment. And this is not only the only instance where this has happened. This is the most famous example of when African Americans have been misled about medical information for a trial or a study or whatever. It's happened many times. So the general mistrust of this procedure and this process with medical anything is justified because they have been in their lifetimes lied to and mistreated. So um, So now, due to this, scientists don't know and don't have as much information about how medical procedures, drugs, whatever, affect African American men, women, children, whatever, because there are slight differences. Some African Americans are more prone to diabetes. They're more prone to sickle cell anemia. They're more prone to several different diseases, and it's harder for us to find out why, and also to study how drugs affect different people when we don't have that large group of people in trials taking those drugs. Um, so so now, because of this, with the COVID vaccine coming out, experts are worried, one, that the African American community won't take the vaccine because they're afraid that it's got something wrong with it. And two, even if they do take it, we don't have enough information to know the side effects and the potential dangers of this individual group taking it compared to the other groups that make up America that have been able to participate in these trials. So the experts worrying is justified. We've screwed up to the point where a whole segment of our society is afraid of medical research, which is going to have some negative lasting effects on potentially that community for a while. Because if they don't get inoculated, they're going to still be able to catch this. And so, um, moving forward, hopefully, um, the government is able to assure these people that this vaccine is safe, um, and they end up getting inoculated as much as anybody else. But we'll have to see how that works out because the distribution of the vaccine hasn't been going great anyway. Um, anyway, thank you so much for watching Putting the Story in History. Um, if you want to learn more about the Tuskegee experiments or any other kind of medical experimentation on African American men and women, there's plenty of sources online that are reputable. Um, if you go and search, I'll even put a few in the description. Thank you again. See you later.